Dana, thanks for having us here.
Thank you.
It's the first time you're going back to Mexico since the pandemic, 2019. How excited are you for coming back, and how do you feel that the fans are right now? Like that the fan base has changed after all this success in the last couple of years?
Well, I feel like when we go into these markets, like you said, we haven't been there since before the pandemic, 2019. Every time we get back to a place we haven't been for a while, it explodes. But there's just so much more than just that going on right now. If you look at, the opening of the PI, the fight that we're going to do down there, the plans that I have for the Sphere on Mexican Independence Day, I am all in on Mexico right now. So my return to Mexico is something that I've been waiting for a long time. So this is a big one for me. This is important.
And tickets sold out like really fast. Obviously, the fans are really excited. How hard is to get a pay-per-view back in Mexico? Last time was 2015 when Velasquez fought Verdun, or UFC 188.
Yeah, so we're in a much different place now than we were in 2015. Number one, we obviously have more Mexican stars than we've ever had, champions. We are all in and invested in Mexico now with the opening of the PI, and now I'm actually doing Mexican. I never did Independence Day or Cinco de Mayo or any of that stuff before, and now I'm at a place. If you look at the next several years with the PI opening down there, we should be doing a lot of fights in Mexico, not just fight nights, but pay-per-views. Many pay-per-views. So what's it going to take? Nothing. I mean, we're here, we're there. It's everything is about to explode for us in Mexico.
Maybe at the time, maybe about timing, right? Like having the champion, because obviously for a pay-per-view you need belts.
But once we get this PI open and everything starts clicking for us, the whole landscape of Mexican MMA is going to change over the next 5 or 6 years.
When you were like planning the Ultimate Fighter Latin America after that first development program, what you were thinking? I mean, you thought it was gonna get like at this size, like having champions and from that generation, because Moreno, Rodriguez, also Vera was there on the first development program. What were your thoughts when you were planning that first, the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, what I was hoping for was to build the sport down there and get it to the point where we would have world champions. I mean, if you look at all the markets that we've gone to, when we went into Canada, we ended up with Canadian champion, right? We go into Australia, we ended up with multiple Australian champions and people from that region. China, we ended up with the Chinese world champion. Brazil, I mean, the list goes on and on. Mexico is no different. I mean, I've said it many times. You know how I feel about the Mexican people and how I feel about their place in history as fighters. So it was just a matter of getting the legwork done and getting in there and launching the Ultimate Fighter, now getting a PI done down there, and continuing to invest in Mexico and Mexican talent.
How did the Noche UFC became an idea for you, like something that you could...
Well, I mean, you saw how that played out. We had Mexican champions, and I said, what the hell am I doing? Why am I not doing something on Independence Day or Cinco de Mayo? So we literally flipped on a dime. We did that event. It was a huge success. And now, this year, going into Mexican Independence Day, I'm going to pull off the greatest live sporting event ever done in the Sphere. And it is going to be a love letter to Mexican fighters. You have no idea how big and how badass this is going to be. If you are Mexican, you have to be at this event or watch this event. To be there live will be an experience that nobody has ever had in combat sports and will never have again. You and I were talking about Topuria and how that's all blowing up. We got International Fight Week, and then we have Mexican Independence Day at the Sphere. It's just, this year is insane. Tons of good stuff, but I'm telling you right now, if you're Mexican, this is going to be the greatest live sporting event you've ever seen.
This is quite a different venue for like concerts and everything, like for everyone that's been there.
It's a different venue for anything that's ever been done. And I mean, just for the concerts, and U2 is using this much of the capabilities of the Sphere. I'm going to use this much of the capabilities of the Sphere. And we'll be the first sporting event to ever do it, because you know that I'm going to spend the money and I'm going to do it right. And when I say that I'm going to deliver something, I'm going to deliver.
how big has been the challenge for your team? Like, because even the setup for the seating and everything is quite different than any other venue.
It's incredibly challenging. It's you know, the question is that, you know, people always ask me, why? Why would you do this? Why do this? Why? Because nobody has, and most people think it can't be done. Everybody, the night that I started talking about doing the Sphere, people were like, it won't work here. This doesn't work for a fight. The layout, the this, the that. You know, there's 50 million reasons why it won't work there. And I'm going to show everybody in September why it will work there.
One of the most particular things about Noche UFC was the graphics. Like they had like the Mexican theme and the music and everything. And it seems like people enjoy that a lot, like embraced it. Like not only the Mexicans, but it seems like it was something fresh for UFC fans around the world. Like this looks like a different fight night. It's just not a regular fight night. I mean, I can imagine like the huge screen and everything that could play it.
I wish I didn't have long sleeves on and I'd show you the goosebumps that I have right now. You have no idea how badass this is going to be. It's going to be incredible, and you're absolutely right. The Mexican people have an energy about them. The love for their country, the support of their own, and it translates into a live event, and it translates on television. People feel it, and people like it, and people respect it. And we're going to take that to a level that nobody's ever seen before. It's going to be it's going to be like a movie or a TV show or a documentary and a sporting event all colliding into one. It's going to be amazing.
All people is looking forward for that. That is going to be like a yearly event, right? Like Mexican Independence Weekend.
Yeah, but the Sphere will be a one-time event.
Even if it's really successful, or?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking at this as like a one-time event. When you put on an event, you put together a P&L, and you know, it's a business. I talk about this all the time. We run a business, and we make money, and people. This is more than a business deal for me. This event. This is much more to me than this. Isn't about making money. I'm actually going to spend money on this event. This is much bigger for me than anything. I want this, I want to do it, and I want to do it right, and I want to pull off something that nobody will ever pull off ever again.
I know you probably had like other, like you had other stuff planned before Noche UFC. Do you regret not being in the arena that night? Like I know your team told you like the atmosphere was great.
Yeah, but I watched it on TV, and it, you know, you've done it. We've all done it. You've had those events that you were at, and you were like, you have no idea, it was so incredible being here. But then there's another experience at home, and then there's another experience if you watched it in a bar. I had the home experience, but yeah, I heard the in-house experience was amazing.
And the attendance was over 18,000, and it was the most watched fight night on ESPN Plus. Right. So it seems like it felt like a pay-per-view, right? You think it could become a pay-per-view at some point, like Mexican Independence Day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you plan to stay like a Noche UFC?
Yes, this is all. It's not like the Mexican events are only fight nights. It just happened that was that night because I had to shift and move things around because I messed up and didn't, you know, go on that date with my Mexican champions. But we were in a different place than we are now. There won't be any questioning whether anything would be a pay-per-view or a fight night. It's all the same anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the event and how good or bad it is.
You're a big boxing fan, and last year it was a big year for boxing. A bunch of fights that probably were hard to make happen. You think it could coexist? Like the Mexican Independence Day still happen with boxing and MMA, like for the rest of the year? Because Canelo might be like retiring the next 3 or 4 years,
right? Probably.
And there's not big star or not at the levels of Canelo at the moment. Like you have Jaime Munguia or you have another names, but no one is at that size of what Canelo is now.
We can always coexist. There's always going to be, you know, listen, obviously these Mexican traditional dates for boxing have always been big for them, and I expect that to remain the same as long as they have a Mexican star as big as Canelo. So yes, we can always share those dates. I mean, they're going to be at the T-Mobile, and I'm basically going to be, down the street at the Sphere.
What are the last year? Everything worked out to have Alexa Grasso there, like Mexican champion defending the belt in Noche UFC. What are her chances to defend again there? Because obviously we're early in the year. It's going to be until September. Or you have any other plans if you don't have, by the moment, you don't have another Mexican champion?
Yeah, of course she'll be back. I mean, she's recovering, and when she's ready to go, we'll get her out there. Yeah. There's
a lot of talent coming out of Mexico. As I mentioned, it was 20 Mexican-born fighters right now. But it seems like Mexico is becoming a gateway for Latin American fighters. We have Diego Lopez, who trains in Lobo Gym with Alexa and Irene. We have Michael Morales, who trains in Tijuana, big prospect for welterweight. Why do you think Mexico is becoming this gateway for Latin American fighters?
Because it always has been. It always has been. I mean, if you look at, I say this all the time, some of the baddest human beings that ever walked the face of this earth have been Mexican. There's always been, places to train, good sparring, access to, for guys to get into boxing or UFC through Mexicans, and it's only going to get bigger now. It's only going to go like this with the opening of the PI and. Now with all these world champions coming out of Mexico. Because the reality is, when you're a world champion, the way other people become top 5 and world champions is coming in and being your sparring partner and training with you every day. That's how you get better. So you're always going to have people that will migrate and gravitate toward the best in the world.
With the PI opening, how much space is there for fighters from other countries, like from Argentina, Peru, Ecuador?
Out the gates, I'm not looking for fighters from other countries. They can come to the PI in Vegas. What I want in Mexico is I want to take kids off the street. I want kids that are in the streets and have nothing to look forward to come into the PI and learn how to train, learn how to do jiu-jitsu, learn how to do Muay Thai, and learn lots of other skills there. And not all these kids are going to grow up and become fighters, but they'll become coaches or they'll touch the sport in some way, shape, or form. That's what the PI is going to be for.
When you expect it to be like fully operational with the academy, like the training and development?
We're going to go down there and do the ribbon cutting, and it should be almost done when I get there. So I expect it to be done shortly after I cut the ribbon.
So you're going to the fight week in Mexico?
Right.
It's going to be like your first time for a live event in around 7 years in Mexico City. So how excited are you? Like this is going to be like, the atmosphere is going to be...
It's almost 10 years. I don't think I've been there since 15. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I don't know how much more I could say in this interview or any more interviews that I do, how much I love Mexico, the people, the culture, the fighting spirit that they have. So this whole thing has been, a plan for me. I wouldn't say since day one. Mexico has always been a plan since day one, but probably 5 or 6 years into it, once we started thinking about the Ultimate Fighter and where we're going to go, Mexico has been very important to
me. At some point, you did Contender Series for Brazil, and before the pandemic, I asked you one time about if there's a chance to do Contender Series for Latin fighters. And you were thinking about it. I mean, obviously, the pandemic changed everything, and you have the Apex like fully operational like almost every week now. But you see that happening at some point, like having enough talent to do just a Contender Series for?
Here's the thing that you have to think about. Coming out of the pandemic, right? We went through the pandemic. But coming out of the pandemic, I thought there was going to be this huge, like all the talent was going to be dried up because all these shows didn't go on and kids weren't fighting and getting experience. That didn't really happen, but now that everything's back in full swing, I think you're going to start seeing, we're pulling talent from all over the world right now for the Contender Series. But as it starts to get bigger, we're only doing it once a year. It starts to get bigger. Yes, I could see a day where we do the Contender Series, and in Mexico.
Efrain Escudero was your first Mexican-born fighter, and that was 2008. Right now, we're getting close to the 50th Mexican-born fighter. When you think about it right now, you have 20 Mexican-born fighters, and you have all these champions and all these talent. What comes through your mind? I mean,
well, you're starting to have these generations now that are growing up with UFC. You know what I mean? When you and I grew up, I'm older than you, but when you and I grew up, even for you, boxing was, you know, Mexicans had boxing gloves running through their veins, man. It was like, and that's all starting to shift now. You're starting to see this younger generation that's growing up, training in mixed martial arts and wanting to be MMA fighters. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, everything that we've been talking about here today, it's all just getting bigger. And the PI is going to be a game changer down in Mexico.
what do you picture in 5 years after the PI opening?
I mean, it's going to be a whole nother level. The level of talent that will be coming out of Mexico could be the same as Brazil. I mean, really, when you think about it, since before we own the UFC, the amount of talent and world champions that have come out of Brazil, I think the only country that could rival that is Mexico.